right, guys, welcome into Fox 5 Live. Happy Thursday afternoon, day before Friday. Can't wait. Counting down the days to the weekend. All right, so we're watching. Yesterday afternoon, we got clouded over a little bit. Didn't get a whole lot of sunshine. What? Dropping things in the background, Fitz? Didn't get a whole lot of sun yesterday afternoon. So temperature stayed on the cool side. It made 48, went for 49. Not a bad day. But I was expecting it to be a little brighter in the afternoon, and we actually ended up getting some snow flurries second half of the day. None of the models I looked at in the morning had it, so was surprised by it. But every now and then it's nice to see models get something wrong. It keeps the human element going into the forecast. We'll put it that way. All right, let's take that live look outside again. There's the Capitol. Flags blowing in the wind once again today. It's a chilly day, but look at the sky. Crystal clear blue skies out there. Really not a cloud in sight locally. But if you head off north and west, there are a few more clouds around. And we'll keep an eye on them as we head on through the next few hours here and see if any don't try to sneak into our region once again and kind of ruin things for the day. I don't think they will today compared to yesterday, because yesterday we had that upper level. Let me go ahead and switch. Let's do upper level water vapor here. There's that piece of energy that was around this morning, and it left. See this kind of almost what's the way to put it? Like this darker blue shift right there. See how it kind of curves in? Winds are coming down this way, and then they're kind of curling up and around, so they're forming this little area, upper level low pressure. And that met up with a little bit of southern moisture, and as a result, we had a few snow flurries. Nothing that I think there was one delay in like the mountains of West Virginia where they got a little bit more of that upslope snow we talked about. But here locally, no concerns. It was just a couple of snowflakes coming down late last night, early this morning. It's gone. It's now pushed off east. It's not going to be a concern the rest of the day. The clouds off to the west here are kind of associated with a little bit of moisture coming off the Great Lakes there. But as that stream continues to fade off to the east, see how that blue is pushing off to the east, that cloud deck should shut off a bit. And then the drier air, as we look at lower level moisture here, low level water vapor, dry air should eventually win the day. So we got into a little bit of the moist stuff overnight, but all this dry stuff you see is slowly creeping up. See how the yellow is expanding and the blue's kind of fading away. That should kill the any of the clouds we see. There's a closer in zoom of it. There's the cloud deck I'm talking about that's riding this little jet that's coming down from the north and from the west. Again, see how that's kind of also following the mid-level pattern or the mid-level stream and lifting north and eastward. So I think we dodged the clouds today. Maybe we get one or two in here, but the flow's kind of backing away. Technical term, but the flow is backing away from our region. And you see right now over D.C., in fact, I think I can even go in a little closer. There's a close-in look here in D.C. You got to go a little west of town, and once you get west of town, you see the roll clouds starting against the mountains as winds at the mid-levels there. See how they're kind of focused out this way, are coming out of the south and of the east today, is what it looks like to me at the mid-levels. Whereas the upper levels, everything's coming down out of the north and west, keeping us on the cool side of things. Try and make this not so boring, but honestly, it's a quiet weather pattern. It's tough to get excited about anything going on. I mean, I just spent the last 3 minutes talking about whether or not we'll get some clouds today. If the biggest concern on my mind is clouds, then it's a quiet weather day here in the eastern half of the country. Here's more clouds. Here's the highest resolution model we have, the HER. It's tracking that cloud deck, and you'll see how as I run through the next few hours, it really kind of fades away. It lifts it off to the north and east. And then here in D.C., we're just left with nothing but clear skies. So I do think absolutely compared to yesterday, we're already seeing a whole lot more sunshine. We are seeing a lot colder temperatures too. Lots of blue overtaking the country here. Everywhere in that darker blue is below freezing. We had sub-freezing temperatures this morning. We've creeped up above it, I believe, here in D.C. I'll zoom in. We are sitting at, and of course it blends with the color scale, so I can't really see, but I believe that's a 37 right there. And temperatures this afternoon shouldn't go too much farther, maybe 5-6 more degrees, thanks to the northwest wind that's keeping this cold air in place. 20s all through Pennsylvania. You got teens up there in New York, which you don't have. It's a whole lot of snow with this cold air mass. This is just kind of a wave that's still coming on the heels of that big storm system we had moved through I believe it was on Tuesday morning. Again, this is just cold air all spilling down behind it, and then eventually you can already see how the blue's fading up over here because you have an area of high pressure out here, And on this side of the high, you're pushing down the cold, and on this side of the high, you're wrapping back the warmth. So you can already see signs of the next warm-up developing out here. That's going to push its way eastward as we head into your day, really afternoon hours tomorrow, but more so into Saturday where you really start to notice it. Here's forecast temps later on this afternoon. Highs, upper 30s, lower 40s around the region here in D.C. You wake up tomorrow morning, expected to be cold again. Expect teens and 20s, a pocket or two of teens, more 20s than anything. Even here in D.C., I went for a low tomorrow morning at 29 degrees. That's right around what the model has. I believe this model has us at 28 degrees. Case in point, it's January. It's going to be cold tomorrow morning. Should have clear skies, though. No weather concerns. Everybody under that line there getting below the freezing mark tomorrow morning. There's tomorrow afternoon, though, and the warm-up will start to begin. We'll have winds starting to turn out of the south and then eventually the southwest. You see all the 50s, and I'll kind of do a quick trace here. Everybody, got to go way down and get the mountains. Everybody kind of below that line. Everyone in this region is 50 or above at some point tomorrow afternoon. So not awful. And it'll certainly feel good because I think we're going to have full sunshine too, because high pressure is going to be kind of like right here. And the closer you are to high pressure, the more sunshine you're going to have, because high pressure promotes sinking air, bad for clouds. That'll shut off the cloud machine, and then we're good to go. Here's another look at it. Again, this is today. Here is that's not where it is. Here is high pressure today. And see, remember, air, you can see the wind barbs here in the black. Air always moves clockwise around high pressure, which means on the north side of it, you're getting the cold coming down, whereas on the south side of it, you're wrapping up the warmth. You can kind of see it clearly going there. Watch what happens as high pressure, I'll just slide this down a little bit. Watch what happens as high pressure moves east throughout the day tomorrow. There you go. That's kind of tomorrow afternoon. We're right on the fringe with high pressure sitting right there. I'll draw all over it because it makes me feel good. You're still pulling down a little bit of the cold, but you're starting to mix in with some warmer stuff coming up from the west. So it's not an overly warm day tomorrow, but it will feel better than today. It'll also be less windy. The closer you get to the center of these areas of high pressure, the less wind you tend to have to contend with. We get into Saturday, high scoots off east. I know it's putting the high right here, but look at your wind barbs. The center of the high is actually right here. Not that that makes a difference, because you're still pushing in all this southern warmth. You're getting a little bit of moisture out ahead of it, but you're pulling in that south wind, which means Saturday, your day on Saturday, is going to be the warmest day here in D.C., thanks to a little bit of sunshine, but you will start to build the clouds throughout the afternoon on Saturday, and then watch what happens next. You'll get a front that'll start to come into the region Saturday night into Sunday, ahead of another wave of low pressure that develops down here. Sunday and the Monday gets a little tricky here, because again, you're drawing the front down. You got a wave of energy developing down to the south. How much cold air is available for this storm? Can we get it close enough to give us any sort of snow? Yes, I'm actually talking snow, despite the big warm-up this weekend as we head into Sunday into Monday. There's a little potential. That storm's not in such a bad spot right there. My opinion on this right now is that it's just there's too much southwest flow. The storm's gonna be here, but it's gonna get pushed out kind of this way. We'll see. I'll talk about that much more in a minute. Case in point, Saturday will be warmer than Sunday, and then through the day on Sunday, with that energy down here kicking up moisture, we'll have some on and again, off again showers throughout your day on Sunday. In fact, let's get to it. Here's your weekend forecast, if you're wondering. So we're doing clouds building throughout the day on Saturday, but Saturday is not a bad day. If you want to get outside and enjoy it, Saturday's the day to do it. Same kind of deal. Sunday is it'll start warm. Temperatures upper 40s to near 50 to start the day, so that's not bad for January. But on again, off again showers. Nothing too heavy, not that I can see at this point, on Sunday, and it's not an all-day rain fest, but throughout the day there will at least be the chance of kicking up a shower or an isolated rumble of thunder even, but more showers than anything. It's just not going to be the nicest looking day. Lots of clouds around, very limited sunshine. So I think that Saturday's your day to do anything outdoors that you need to get done. Want to get out, get a head start on some spring gardening or something. I'm not so sure I'd do that yet, with February expected to start going a little cold on us here in a few minutes. All right, let's talk about this Sunday thing, because this is where things get a little tricky. Here's your forecast for Sunday. This is from the new American model that's rolling in as we speak. Again, there's your light shower activity. This is Sunday afternoon right there. You see the stripe of green. Nothing too heavy. Your main wave is still down here in Florida developing. Now watch what happens Sunday night into Monday. We're going to drag this guy. It'll try and ride the front. And then the question is exactly where is the front during the daytime hours on Monday as this piece of energy swings down into the Midwest and rides the trough around. Does it take the storm and does it kick it up north and bring the moisture closer to DC as the cold air is coming in? Then we could be talking a little mix or snow. Or does it take this and kind of throw it out to sea? Let's run this model forward, then we'll kind of go in and we'll figure out what the differences are. So it's kind of running it out to sea. It's got it here, but it's going out north and west there. It's close. Hi, Tucker.
Are you looking at the 12?
I'm looking at the 12.
It's trending north and west.
It looks about the same as the 0Z to me.
Well, not only that, but look at the upper level low come through now on the back end of it.
I shall.
Will you?
You want me to do it now?
Yeah, go ahead, do it now.
All right, let's do it now.
It's giving us a little piece of energy on the back side of it.
Woo. Yeah, but it cuts off a little late. I don't want to get too technical on here, but
really, because who could possibly be watching
right
now that's not getting too technical?
This person. And I don't want to disappoint that person.
Can that person contact us?
let us know if this is too technical.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, it's worth a watch.
Before you go, talk to me.
I will. I cannot wait. I will mark it on my calendar. All right. All right. So Tucker is excited about this. Okay. It's something compared to what we have right now. It's something to watch on Monday morning. Yes, there's a storm there. Yes, there's cold air supply up here. Yes, we have a front around the region. Here's problems that I see. Let's deduce the upper levels a little bit.
Hang on, let me get you a tissue because you're trying to get rid of my storm.
I am trying to get rid of your storm. You're the one that's going to need the tissue. These events haven't worked out for us so far this winter. They really haven't. It's been trouble. So here's the upper levels from the European with the event on Monday morning. Notice where the trough is. I'm having trouble figuring out if it's negative or positive, but to me it looks like a positively tilted trough, which is not good for storms. Because if you have a storm right here and you got a positively tilted trough, what are you going to do with it? You're going to push. You're going to take that trough and you're going to push it out to sea. This GFS is a little better. I mean, we got to kind of time it out and see when its closest approach is. There's your storm energy right out here. That might be more neutral. It doesn't look too negative to me. It's not. The problem I have with this is it's not deep enough. Sorry. Not deep enough. I need this trough to be a little sharper, and I need it to be a little deeper, and I need it to be turning negative so that it's pooling instead of pushing the storm. This to me is still pushing whatever storm this is and pushing it north and west. Is it better than the last run? Let's run it back real quick. That's current run, I believe. Let's go back one run. So current, former. Yeah, I guess it's a little better. Here's what you want to see. Let's break this down big time. So here would be storm time-ish around Monday morning. So big picture here, a whole northern. I don't like this low position up here. That upper level low needs to be a little bit farther south. So, and I know this is hard for everybody to see at home, but you got a closed upper level low way up here. That needs to be a little bit farther south and east. You know, I like to see that east of the Hudson Bay, right there, to get your cold air supply in here fast enough. I think this thing's going to struggle with any cold air if it even does get close enough. You got to get rid of this upper level low out here. So here's another upper level low up here that's limiting this ridge potential here. Swing it south a little farther so that you can allow this ridge to build. That will allow the trough out here to deepen, and then we can worry about turning it negative in time to get the storm to come up. I don't like it. I don't. Even if this thing was to creep a little closer, so let's go back to the surface dynamics of it all. even if the sky was to continue trending.
You are seeing on your Edge Live channel 2 is tape playback. It is not live. This is tape playback of the pursuit.
All right. Sorry, they're talking over me here. One sec. We'll go in. Here's the issue I have with this storm, even if it does get a little closer, is that at this track, these storms this year, we've had a couple that have done this in December, especially late December. We had a couple storms do the same thing. So let me go forward one more hour. So this storm right there. Let me go back another hour. Watch the trends. So last couple of trends. So this was the overnight run, morning run, latest run. So 3 runs now brought the precip a little closer. But notice what it's also doing at the same time. Watch this blue line here. That's upper level where the cold air is at the upper levels of the atmosphere. It's also pushing that back west. So my concern is that, sure, if we get the storm in here, fine. But if we get the storm in here, we may have too much warm air left over. I don't think this is it. I don't see right now. Maybe this changes tomorrow. Maybe this changes this weekend. But I don't see right now how this is going to work out in our favor for any sort of snow event here. Maybe for folks out to the west, if it's able to come far enough west, the mountains of West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Panhandle, maybe. But here in D.C., even if we're able to get it over to snow, you need to get this area low pressure sitting here if you want anything big here. If it's doing this track like they've tracked so far this winter, then we get adjusting to an inch and everybody moves on with their lives. That might be a case to watch here. So there you go. That's kind of my thoughts on that situation right now. It's certainly closer than it was a few days ago. We didn't even have a storm to watch a few days ago, so at least it's something to watch. I think it's probably rain versus mix or snow, but we'll watch it, and I'll bring you another update tomorrow. Is the cold coming back? Yes, the cold's coming back. There's the cold. CFS this morning, CFS over the past few days has been close. CFS Climate Forecast System, it's a terrible model, I'll be honest with you, but when it consistently shows something over and over again, then you tend to give it a little bit more precedence. And this is showing nice big ridge on the west coast, nice big trough on the east coast with cold coming down. That's a 16 to 20 day period. So again, we're watching that beyond Super Bowl weekend kind of time frame for when we snap things back to a more consistently cold pattern as opposed to the warm pattern we've been locked into. All right, sorry for the super confusing talk today with Tucker and I battling over the storm. We'll watch it tomorrow. We got time with this thing. I don't foresee it becoming anything major. But again, we'll keep our eye on it heading into tomorrow, and we'll figure things out here as we head through the next couple of days. But again, I wouldn't hold your breath on it if you're a snow lover like I am. I think we're going to have a little bit of trouble getting all that in here. All right, that's all I have for today, guys. Again, it's been a very quiet week, second half of the week here in the weather department. So we're just tracking cold. We got a weekend warm-up coming our way. How about one thing real quick that I haven't looked at was the 7-day forecast, in case you're curious. Right now, we are just going with 43 today, 50 tomorrow. Clouds will build through your day on Saturday, but it's the best day of the weekend, so enjoy your Saturday. Sunday, clouds, on and off showers, not a washout though, just on and off through the day. Cool into early next week. Do we have to watch something Monday? We'll see. We may have, at the very least, have to add some morning showers in during the day on Monday. And then we'll clear it out into next week. Maybe a passing snow flurry on Tuesday, but we should warm it up the second half of next week, kind of beyond what you see there on Wednesday. Next Thursday, Friday, we should be going through another warm-up. All right, guys, that's it. That's all I have. Thank you so much for joining us here on Fox 5 Live. Molly is coming back in just a few more minutes. She's going to have the latest news headlines. I will leave you with a live look at the White House. Sun is shining, but wind is blowing. And it's a cold Thursday, or chilly Thursday afternoon here in Washington, D.C. Molly's back in just a sec with news headlines. We'll see you tomorrow.
Audio. Power for Puerto Rico Coalition. Thank you everyone for joining us today. I invite you all to go look at the exhibit, the Postcards from Puerto Rico exhibit set up over here. It will be up all day, and it shows you the current state of what is happening in Puerto Rico. We expect members of Congress and their staff to be visiting it all day, and we hope you will as well. We're joined now by two senators who have been championing the cause for the people of Puerto Rico. Senator Gillibrand from New York and Senator Menendez from New Jersey, who will make remarks. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all my colleagues standing here with me. I hope that my colleagues in the Senate have an opportunity to see this photo exhibit here. The photos are troubling, concerning, and in some instances heartbreaking. You do see homes flattened. You see the beautiful lush of the island, as Bob and I were talking about, absolutely leveled. You see families with pain on their faces who clearly are trying to tell Congress that we need help. This past summer and fall were some of the worst hurricanes in the history of the United States. Storms, flooding, deadly winds tore through communities in Texas, Mississippi, Louisiana, Florida, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and in Puerto Rico. Our fellow American citizens in Puerto Rico were among the worst and hardest hit. Their jobs were destroyed. 3 of Puerto Rico's biggest industries, manufacturing, finance, and tourism, which drive their already struggling economy, remain severely damaged because the hurricane wiped out so many of their factories, buildings, and hotels. In other words, Puerto Rico's storm wasn't just a natural disaster, it was an economic and humanitarian disaster. Thousands of families still do not have access to the most basic resources, whether it's electricity, whether it's clean water, whether it's food, supplies, schools for their kids. The islands are struggling in every respect you can imagine. Unfortunately, while so many Americans have done so much extraordinary work, the federal government has not done nearly enough to help Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands both recover and rebuild. How long must these families wait? How long must these communities suffer? How long must we wait until the government does the right thing? It is the responsibility of Congress to say clearly and unequivocally that we are never going to turn our backs on our fellow citizens, whether they live in New York, Texas, the U.S. Virgin Islands, or Puerto Rico. Instead, Congress has done the bare minimum expected of us. A few supplemental aid packages that were just enough to keep the islands from totally collapsing. But it's not enough, and it's not even close. I saw this for myself when I visited Puerto Rico just after the hurricanes. The true test of our character is now that the headlines have begun to recede and most of the TV cameras have moved on to another crisis elsewhere. What will we do in Washington? We must rise to the occasion and create a new Marshall Plan for the rebuilding of Puerto Rico. We must forge the political will that is necessary to stand with the families and bring our leaders here in Washington to do the right thing. Anything less is not only a dereliction of duty, but immoral. We need to start fully funding the governor of Puerto Rico's request for the next funding bill on February 8th. Our fellow American citizens in Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands have been waiting far too long without the help they need. So I urge all of us to stand together, to speak out, to be heard on this issue, and to protect our fellow citizens. I now would like to introduce Bob Menendez, who has been a champion on this from the first moment.
Thank you, Senator Gillibrand. Buenos dias. Welcome, everybody. And thank you to my colleague for being such a strong voice for the people of Puerto Rico throughout this process and even before. I want to thank the Power for Puerto Rico Coalition for the chance to join and the unveiling of that powerful art installation. It has been said that a picture can speak 1,000 words, and just like when I went to Puerto Rico and saw the devastation, those pictures speak strongly about the challenge that the citizens of Puerto Rico have in restoring their lives, their communities, and the island. It's hard to believe that it's 4 months since both Hurricane Maria and Irma wreaked havoc on Puerto Rico. But it's even harder to believe that 4 months have gone by without Congress providing the 3.5 million Americans who call Puerto Rico home with the need, with the resources they so desperately need. To this day, too many Puerto Rican families sit in darkness. Nearly a third of the population remains without power, and those who have it experience frequent blackouts. Nearly 10% still lack access to clean water. Major infrastructure remains in disrepair, and tragically, the death count continues to rise. We may soon face the tragic reality that this disaster and its aftermath claimed the lives of maybe up to 1,000 people. And to add insult to injury, the administration has failed to equip the people of Puerto Rico with the tools they need to rebuild and recover. Now, New Jersey is home to the third largest Puerto Rican population in the U.S. mainland, and over the years I've visited the island countless times, both personally and officially. That's why when the storms parted, I immediately worked to organize a bipartisan congressional delegation to visit the island. And I can't tell you how outraged I was that the Trump administration's decision to ground all military fights and derail that trip. But I wasn't going to let this president, who apparently believes that tossing paper towels into a crowd is a form of relief, stop me. So I booked a ticket and flew to Puerto Rico to assess the damage myself. And what I saw was devastating. The island I know and love and have visited for well over a quarter of a century is not the island I saw on that day. Bridges destroyed, homes sinking into the ground, downed power lines, communities isolated, disconnected, and in the dark. This new art installation must remind Congress that we have yet to send Puerto Rico the funding it needs to recover from its extraordinary crisis. That's why, among other reasons, I voted against yet another short-term continuing resolution that failed once again to fully fund Puerto Rico's recovery. The unfortunate reality is that Congress has a long history of treating the 3.5 million Americans living in Puerto Rico as second-class citizens. It's time Congress provide Puerto Rico with equal treatment under Medicaid, end the chronic neglect of its health and energy infrastructure, and give Puerto Rican parents the same child tax and earned income tax credits they'd be eligible if they booked a one-way flight to the mainland. It's also why I just led with several of my colleagues sending a letter about the supplemental appropriations that should be considered, yes, for all of our states and also for the people of Puerto Rico in a meaningful way. It's my hope that when my colleagues here in the Senate visit the installation, they are reminded not only of Mother Nature's power to destroy, but our capacity as human beings to rebuild. The people of Puerto Rico deserve nothing less. If I've seen one glimmer of hope shining through the thick fog of despair left behind Hurricane Maria, it has been the resolve of the people of Puerto Rico and its diaspora. Here on the mainland, the Puerto Rican community has never been more energized, more organized, or eager to make their presence known. And I know that spirit is what's going to help drive us at the end of the day. But we demand dignity and we demand equal treatment for the 3.5 million Americans who call Puerto Rico their home. Very briefly in Spanish, estoy contento de estar aquí con mi colega, la senadora Gillibrand de Nueva York, con los restos de los que están abogando para Puerto Rico. Insistimos de que los 3.5 millones de ciudadanos americanos que llaman Puerto Rico su casa tengan las mismas oportunidades que cualquier ciudadano americano de ser rescatado de las consecuencias del huracán. Que actualmente asistimos a Puerto Rico económicamente, que asistimos a Puerto Rico en su sistema de salud, que asistimos a Puerto Rico en su sistema de energía y que lo tratamos en todo sentido a parte igual. ¿Por qué es que un puertorriqueño tenga que irse de la isla y venir a la Florida o New Jersey o Nueva York para tener la dignidad y los beneficios que deben tener como ciudadanos americanos viviendo en Puerto Rico? Y por eso estamos empujando para que la próxima oportunidad de expropiación tenga los recursos necesarios para el pueblo de Puerto Rico. With that, let me introduce Mary Catherine Ricker, the Executive Vice President of the American Federation of Teachers.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you so much, Senators. Thank you so much for having us here today and including AFT, the American Federation of Teachers, to be part of this striking display of pictures dominating the struggles, as well as the outpouring of love and support for our fellow Americans in Puerto Rico. The AFT represents 1.7 million members in the United States, including more than 30,000 active and retired educators who belong to the Asociación de Maestros de Puerto Rico. Like every teacher, AMPR members know that a union's work is more than just negotiating a contract. The lives and welfare of our students, our colleagues, and our community mean just as much to us. Our union leaders in Puerto Rico sounded the alarm that the response from the federal government was woefully inadequate given the context of the devastation. AFT President Randy Weingarten saw this for herself on several visits to the island after the hurricanes. Randy and AMPR leaders went from town to town, and everywhere they met people who were going without safe, reliable drinking water for days and weeks on end. So we launched Operation Agua just 1 month after Hurricane Maria hit, along with our partner union, AMPR, our partners, the Hispanic Federation, AFSCME, Operation Blessing, the Seafarers International Union, and Tote Maritime, to help bring safe and reliable drinking water to the citizens of Puerto Rico. As teachers, Randy and I can't imagine a school without safe drinking water. This is a public health and public education issue because safe drinking water is a human right. As the pictures you see around us show, we have helped get thousands of water filters to schools across Puerto Rico. Even now, tens of thousands of Americans in Puerto Rico still do not have access to safe and reliable drinking water. So, the work of Operation Agua must continue. I urge anyone who wants to help to go to operationagua.com and join us in making a donation so we can continue to bring safe, reliable drinking water to our fellow citizens in Puerto Rico. This is just one way of coping with the fallout of the Trump administration's woefully inadequate response to Hurricane Maria. Last week, a group of respected economists and policymakers came out and said Puerto Rico can't survive unless Congress invests in a stimulus to rebuild the island and jumpstart their economy. That means no longer treating Puerto Rico with second-class status. That means properly funding Medicaid on the island. That means getting Puerto Rico the funding they need to build new, stronger infrastructure now. Not pulling back money that was already appropriated, as the Trump administration did last week. It means lifting up the struggles of our fellow Americans and supporting Puerto Ricans as they recover from Hurricane Maria. The AFT will work alongside everyone sincerely working to rebuild Puerto Rico for Puerto Ricans. Puerto Rico se levanta. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Laura Esquivel, Director of National Advocacy of the Hispanic Federation, who has worked hand in hand with us as an Operation Agua partner and as a longtime valued partner in countless ways to support students and public schools across our country. Lara.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sure. My name is Laura Esquivel. I'm the Director of National Advocacy for Hispanic Federation. Hispanic Federation is executing one of the largest private relief and recovery efforts to date on the island in the aftermath of Hurricane Maria. Our engagement on the ground is firsthand, and our commitment is long-term. With the help of Lin-Manuel Miranda, our Unidos Fund has raised nearly $30 million for recovery and relief. We have delivered over 6 million pounds of food and water, thousands of solar panels and water filters, and have committed $13 million to provide grants to local nonprofits focused on building a resilient future. We wish more than anything there was no need for us to do any of this, but unfortunately there is. Even so, it is a drop in the bucket compared to what is needed. The devastation caused by Maria in Puerto Rico is unprecedented. We must confront the reality that we have neglected these territories and the U.S. citizens living there since their inception, allowing them to fall behind in every measurable and social and economic criterion. Sadly, we are continuing that pattern. Hurricane Maria's destructive forces deepen the suffering of the Puerto Rican people beyond our country.
Hi guys, if you're watching this update on Puerto Rico, this is live in DC right now, and I'm live here in the Fox 5 DC digital newsroom, bringing you some of the live breaking video footage that we have coming in. I want to quickly flash to what we're going to go to next. This is Davos, Switzerland, where President Trump is right now for the World Economic Forum, meeting with world leaders, talking about various things in the economic world. Of course, he's there alone. Melania Trump, FLOTUS, did not go with him. And apparently this camera is kind of all over the place right now, but they're expecting him to make a statement or some remarks that were somewhat unscheduled. So we're going to check in to this when it kind of settles down and we have some eyes on the president here. But let's go back to Capitol Hill, where Senator Gillibrand and Menendez are speaking about Puerto Rico, the disaster, and sort of what they're doing to continue to recover. Let's go back there. All right, let's check in.
For U.S. citizens lies first and foremost, and they have failed the people of Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands miserably. How can Congress have not yet acted to provide meaningful relief while thousands of U.S. citizens are living in shelters or homes with plastic tarps instead of roofs that still get flooded each time it rains for over 4 months, over 120 days? And in case you haven't spent much time in the tropics, it rains a lot. Don't take anyone's word that things are getting back to normal without going to see for yourself. That may be true for some, but we have stories that paint a very different picture. Like the elderly woman who lives in a low-income apartment building in San Juan, who rarely leaves her apartment because she can't get downstairs without the elevator, and the generator only runs for a few hours at night when she's afraid to go out. Or the women having babies in tarp-covered, mildewed, mosquito-infested homes because the community health center that rural communities depend on is nowhere near back to normal. Visit Puerto Rico, especially areas beyond San Juan, before you start writing about its recovery. What do we expect Congress to do? We expect Congress to act, to ensure that funds and help for Puerto Rico and the areas most severely in need of disaster relief receive it as part of the next budget deal. Logistical challenges like those claimed by FEMA should not be a barrier to doing the detailed assessments needed to support the requests for immediate aid or for directing adequate resources to assist in the rebuilding of lives and communities of all U.S. citizens. Why is FEMA dragging its feet when it comes to Puerto Rico? I wish some of you would start asking those questions yourselves. Puerto Rico needs swift and comprehensive investments in healthcare, infrastructure, and workforce development, to name but a few areas. And every federal agency has a role to play and expertise and funds to contribute. No funds provided for disaster assistance and rebuilding should be used to repay creditors or create a larger debt burden for Puerto Rico. It's ridiculous that the $4.9 billion in the last supplemental, the bulk of funds allocated to date for Puerto Rico, was in the form of loans to a debt-ridden territory. And not a penny of that money has yet to be released to the government of Puerto Rico. Lastly, our concerns extend to the hundreds of thousands of Puerto Ricans who have already evacuated the island because of lack of habitation, food, and water. And employment. Until people can have hope that Puerto Rico will begin on a path of rebuilding that will offer a decent life for families and children on the island, they will continue to leave. These displaced Puerto Ricans in Florida and Connecticut, Massachusetts, New York, and New Jersey also need disaster relief and support. We can tell by the numbers who've enrolled their children in local schools that many are not planning to return, at least not for the foreseeable future. Congress should start facing the fact that these are not just disaster victims, but new constituents who will have the right, as all U.S. citizens do, at least those who live on the mainland, to vote for them in the next election. We cannot and we will not sit by while the people of Puerto Rico continue to suffer by being treated differently from other U.S. citizens. Congress should make the swift and comprehensive investments that give Puerto Rico and its people something which gives them hope for a future and, most importantly, what they deserve as U.S. citizens. Thank you. I'd like to now introduce Brent Wilkes of LULAC.
Thank you, Laura. My name is Brent Wilkes. I'm the CEO of the League of United Latin American Citizens. I'm delighted to be here with you today, along with Senators Gillibrand and Senator Menendez and our allies at the Hispanic Federation and AFT to show support for Power for Puerto Rico and to help introduce this amazing, devastating exhibit of the postcards from Puerto Rico, where we're bringing firsthand glimpses of the damage that's been caused by the hurricane to the Congress. We are a membership organization with members across the country. We have over 220 councils in Puerto Rico, and we're present in just about every city on the island. Our members have experienced this devastation firsthand, and they have, as others have said, gone without for far too long. For 4 months, they've been waiting for the U.S. to come to their aid and hoping that that aid is forthcoming. And yet the devastation is so severe that in many parts of the island, they still don't have electricity. As Laura said, they're still living under tarps. They're dying because of the conditions, and they're still hoping for aid from the U.S. Now, our members are so proud of their American citizenship. Many have served in the armed forces. In fact, Puerto Rico has the highest participation rate of any population in the country in our armed forces. So when our nation needed them, they served. But when they need our nation to return the favor, to come to their aid after a devastating hurricane, we have yet to deliver that. So I stand in solidarity with our partners, calling for Congress to act. They need to act now, and they need to act soon. If they don't act soon, the loss of life will continue, and Puerto Rico will continue in a downward spiral. The economy was already in a terrible shape before the hurricane hit. But because of the hurricane, many of the industries have shut down, especially tourism, which is a very big part of the Puerto Rican economy. And because of that, many Puerto Ricans have fled the island and they've come to the U.S. And if we don't do something quickly, that trend will continue to the point where the economy will not be able to recover. There may be some in Congress that think maybe halfway measures, maybe a little bit of support will do the job, maybe loans. But that's not the case at all. If we don't come to the aid of Puerto Rico and we don't fix the economy and fix the conditions there quickly, Puerto Rico will not recover. And the island will be in a continual decline for years to come. We've all got to step up and come to the aid of Puerto Rico, just as they came to our aid when we needed them. And I call upon Congress to make sure that we stop treating Puerto Ricans like second-class citizens. They've been too painfully aware that they are treated differently when it comes to programs such as Medicare and Medicaid and food stamps and the Earned Income Tax Credit. We've got to make sure that they get the same treatment as all other U.S. citizens. So I'm delighted to be here with our partners. We're going to fight. We're going to Puerto Rico on Sunday. We're going to be visiting with our members again. We're delighted to partner to make sure we're getting the aid to our communities that we can. But again, as Laura said, it's not enough. We need the support of Congress. We need action. We need the U.S. citizens on the mainland to come to the aid of the U.S. citizens in Puerto Rico.
Which operations in a frame draw focus from what's going on down the Euphrates River Valley is the degree to which it doesn't advance coalition objectives in the theater, which are to finish ISIS in Syria. So it actually is not helpful to actually have these operations go on. We recognize that, and we're working with the Turks to try to minimize it. I can't speculate on whether or not they'll choose to go to Manbij. That's a future, hypothetical that we, of course, we look at, but just not ready to comment on it at this time. But I think the degree to which focus is taken off the reason we're in Syria, which is to go after ISIS, is the degree to which it damages the overall effort. And Turkey's a part of that overall effort as well.
Speaking to the Manbij, I know that you don't want to speak to whether or not they'll go, but what precautions are being made for American personnel since there are patrols that are conducted routinely in and around Manbij?
Sure. We continue to coordinate. Turkey is part of the coalition. We continue to do coordination with them across the board on everything. Commanders on the ground and the Theater Commander General Votel have take continual analysis to take a look at the tactical situation on the ground to ensure that our forces are going to be safe and secure.
Okay. And so the last question was, when were you notified of the beginning of the Afrin operation?
We were notified prior to the beginning of the operation.
And you found out about it from the Turks? I mean, not from another party. They notified you directly?
They notified us directly.
Joe.
Thank you so much. My question is for both of you. You keep saying that Turkey is part of the coalition, and everything is Turkey doing right now is literally out of the coalition mission. My question for you is, if Turkey decides to ban the U.S. Air Force to use Incirlik, is the Pentagon thinking right now, studying other alternatives, other options than using Incirlik?
Sure. So first of all, I'm not going to talk to Incirlik specifically, but I would tell you that people like me are paid to study alternatives all the time. We have alternatives for a broad variety of contingencies, many of which we hope never occur. So go back to the first part of your question. Actually, Turkey does do a lot of things with the coalition. I would agree that what's happening in Afrin is not particularly helpful to the overall coalition effort, but we're trying to work very hard with the Turks to accommodate their national security interests with the reasons why we are in Syria as well. And we think to a large degree there's overlap. There's certainly areas that we disagree with, but we think we have an opportunity to perhaps come together, and those discussions are continuing.
Quick follow-up, sir. Have you seen any evidence that Turkey is pushing its military or its loyal groups towards Manbij? And if Turkey is doing so, will the U.S.-led coalition be ready to defend its partners, mainly the SDF and the YPG?
I'm not going to comment on a future hypothetical operation.
This could happen, sir.
Idris.
Could you talk about the U.S. military's conversations with the YPG leadership? Because obviously you're in contact. What are you hearing from them, and have they expressed their concern about the operation?
Yeah, I'd defer you actually to OIR. Task Force OIR would be able to give you a lot better information on that. I would tell you that that we do in fact have those conversations. We have forces that are with them, but I would go down a level lower to get more specific detail on that.
Sure, and just a completely separate issue, Qatar announced that it was in talks with Russia to buy the S-400. Your reaction to that, given that it's not the first country to talk about buying the S-400, and Turkey's already announced that it's buying one. So what's your reaction to that announcement?
These are sovereign decisions. Right here in the middle. Yes.
On North Korea, recently North Korea want permanently suspension of U.S. and South Korean military exercises. Does the U.S. have any schedule to temporarily or permanently military exercises, suspension of military exercises?
It's a deconfliction during the Olympics, and that's the only thing that's been announced.
Sure, Dana, I would just amplify that. We haven't suspended. We're deconflicting during the period of the Olympics, and exercises will continue immediately after the Olympics.
No suspension.
There's no suspension contemplated.
Okay. Also, second question, General Secretary Mattis have scheduled to meeting with the South Korean Defense Secretary Song Young-moo this weekend at Hawaii. What issues will be raised at this meeting?
The Secretary will meet Minister Song. It will be a continuation of the conversations that they had in Vancouver.
They will talk about areas of mutual interest to include the inter-Korean dialogue, as well as a myriad of other issues that we share. Way in the back.
Good morning. Good afternoon. There was a report from Pravda this morning that 2 Americans were killed because of the Turkish incursion into Afrin. Do you know anything about that, please?
I have not seen that report, General.
I got nothing on that at all.
Jeff.
I apologize if I'm behind on this. Has the Defense Department categorically said whether the footage that is purportedly helmet cam footage from Niger, whether it's authentic or a fake?
I'm aware of the reports, and we have not confirmed the authenticity of that.
Can I follow briefly on that? Has anyone in the Pentagon seen the video?
To my knowledge, no one has seen the video. Tara. Carla, sorry.
Okay. On Pakistan.
I'm bad with bonds, I'm sorry.
I have 2 questions that similarly related. First, the U.S. Embassy spokesman has rejected Pakistan's foreign ministry claims that a U.S. drone targeted an Afghan refugee camp in the Quorum tribal region. Can you talk about that? Was there indeed a drone strike? And then also, a Pakistan military spokesperson has said that on January 24th, a drone strike near the tribal areas targeted an individual who had been mixed with Afghan refugees. Are either of these drone strikes accurate?
I'll stay with the embassy statement on that. I have no further information beyond that.
Even for the second drone strike as well, they haven't commented on that.
I'll have to take a look at that. I don't have anything on that.
Here, over here.
Sorry, thank you, madam. Thank you, John. As far as the U.S.-Pakistan relations are concerned, if you can update, because day before yesterday at the CSIS, Pakistan's ambassador to the U.S. said that please, he was telling the U.S., please do not blame Pakistan for your failures in Afghanistan. Because of the failures in Afghanistan, you are blaming and punishing Pakistan. So where do we stand as far as the presidential announcement on the Pakistan is concerned? At the same time, U.S. and Pakistani generals are meeting, or they have met on the ground there. So where do we stand?
Well, we've said many times that this is an inflection point in the relationship. We want Pakistan to be a part of the solution in the region. This is a South Asia strategy, and it's about regional security, and we want Pakistan to work with us because terrorism is a threat to all of us.
And Madam, finally, Ambassador also said that Pakistan do not want anybody in Afghanistan but only China, even not US or India, anybody. And they are saying, so what I'm asking you, the bombing still going on in Afghanistan. Can you have peace in the region or in Afghanistan without the full cooperation of Pakistan?
We want to have Pakistan work with us to provide regional security. The administration has taken a regional approach, and Pakistan should be a part of that solution.
All right, guys, we're going to pull out of the Pentagon briefing today and just kind of keep it a little moving, a little more interesting. T's joining me. You came down to do some IT work, but you popped by.
Yes, I decided to stop by, say hi to my favorite person in the world. Hey, Molly.
Well, I'm manning the controls here, so I'm jumping around looking at different video that we can bring you. I was mentioning earlier, guys, that President Trump is in Davos, Switzerland. We got a camera there, and we're hearing that he is supposed to be making some unscheduled remarks. So we're gonna jump in there when we see him, but so far nothing yet.
He's going to Switzerland, huh? So
Switzerland for the Economic Forum, talking about really promoting business in America to the other countries, the other leaders in Switzerland. So that's where he is now. That's why we haven't really seen much of him, obviously, in the States this week doing anything. But hey, let's talk about, I'm just looking at this video. Did you hear about Sylvester Stallone talking about his Eagles?
I've heard of many celebrities talking about the Eagles. Many celebrities from Philadelphia.
Let's talk about the ones that we know, because it's Philadelphia Eagles versus Patriots on 2 Sundays. And we know Stallone has spoken out about it. Bradley Cooper.
Stallone also isn't the Rocky Steps on
the Rocky
in Philadelphia?
Steps are in Philly.
Yeah, that's
why.
why.
He has a connection too. Right,
So,
right.
Yes, and Bradley Cooper is definitely from Philadelphia. I saw Will Smith. He's from Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Born and raised from the
Here's
playground where he
Sylvester.
used to spend most of his days.
Oh, well, yes, that's right. So Will Smith, Sylvester Stallone, who you see here, Bradley Cooper, a couple others. Pink is from there.
Pink is from Pennsylvania. She's not from Philly.
Oh, she's from Pennsylvania, but she's doing the national anthem.
Oh, yes.
On Super Bowl Sunday, so that's February 4th.
It's a dream come true for her.
She's excited. There he is, promoting his jersey.
I also remember in 2005 when Patriots and Eagles did this. You remember Will Smith did the halftime show?
I don't, but I do remember 2005. Did he perform?
Yes, I think so. I think he did.
Are you sure?
He did. If I can recall, like I remember he was so amped up because the Eagles made it to the Super Bowl, and I was actually going for the Eagles in 2005.
I remember I was young. I was in
Paul
college.
McCartney.
It was Paul McCartney. Did Will Smith just show up? Or
he may have done the just type in Will Smith real fast because I gotta.
Because it was his team.
Smith,
Maybe he just maybe they showed him.
Hmm.
We're still looking at Sylvester here.
Controversy. Oh, whoops.
And that was a different one. Obviously, Justin Timberlake learning from his mistakes, hopefully, or mistake. We don't really know. His show is going to be really good. I think halftime this year.
It's gonna be great.
He teased it out. Oh, he was just talking about this year.
I guess. I just remember seeing Will Smith in 2005 with the Eagles jersey. And that's when Donovan McNabb was the Eagles quarterback.
Yep.
Yeah,
Patriots barely won that one. It was by 3.
They won by a field goal. Yep.
Yeah.
Or you're right.
Mm-hmm.
I think the people in Philadelphia are currently still partying in the streets and climbing poles.
Okay, so do you remember we were showing you some of that this week, right after that win? People were doing things that the police were trying to prevent them from doing, which is climbing poles and being rowdy in the streets, and it got mayhem in Philly.
And although they greased the poles, there were still some Eagles that happened to fly above the grease and still climb.
Somehow they made it, and it was crazy in the streets. Some of my Philadelphia friends were like, "No one's going to work tomorrow." But hey, did you guys see in the news sort of overnight? The two cities are sort of pitting against themselves. Even though I will say, Patriots, because I know this, their stadium is closer to Providence than Boston. They are associated with Boston as sort of the New England hub for their city, right? And then the Eagles are associated with Philly, of course. So each city is doing their own sort of thing to kind of get the city out of their everything: bakeries, shops, eateries. So, for example, in Boston, people are opting not to sell or even have on display or sell Philadelphia cream cheese or any Philly cheesesteaks. And then places in Philadelphia are banning like Boston cream donuts.
Unbelievable.
And what else? Other New England beers.
I know that my New York friends, colleagues, and affiliates, they are all just trying to block out both sides, the north and the south, because they're in between it all.
So many are. New York people are in between it. Yeah. So many people don't really have sort of a stake in the fight. They either dislike both teams or they don't have any affiliation.
Pretty much.
So no one, even our anchors today that were debating it, a lot of them can't really. I mean, they're just picking a side, but. People have their own thoughts. But yeah, the funny thing is really the items and the stuff.
I can't believe they've gone to such lengths to it's serious. That's how you know it's more than football to some.
I'm not going to say they're like the biggest contest teams. They're the rival enemies.
But the Super Bowl is maybe like the biggest sports event, other than like World Cup and stuff like that.
It's huge. It definitely is huge.
Like, don't they have like millions of viewers? Like,
yes.
in commercial spaces,
exactly.
super like millions of dollars for like a second.
And I think it's hard to get to be a contender to have a spot for a commercial because, they're very costly, and that is a huge part of the money that goes all into this. But even to vie for that 30-second or 1-minute spot is tough. I don't know.
And that's why they switch networks every year too. Like this year, I think NBC is going to host the Super Bowl. Last year, Fox did it.
Oh, they do switch every year, right? It's a different thing.
And then I think the year after that's probably CBS or ABC. Who knows?
They go around.
They just switch it up and then. But I know Fox had it last year when it was Patriots and
That's right.
Falcons.
It was Fox last year. Nice little interim week that we have though, because we have the Wait, do we have the Pro Bowl Sunday? No, that's later.
Pro Bowl is on Sunday.
Oh, it is this Sunday.
Yes.
So the in-between week is the Pro Bowl.
They have
and then,
Skills Challenge and all that stuff too now.
Yeah.
But the Pro Bowl used to be after the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was. That's what I was thinking.
I think they tried to increase more viewership to they brought it like before the Super Bowl, I guess, for more viewers. Because, I mean, personally, after the Super Bowl, nobody really watches football or cares for it until training camp until the draft. I guess that's when football starts sparking back up again. So I think, I think that's why they put it before the Super Bowl now. But it doesn't really make sense because most of the people playing in the Super Bowl probably made it to the Pro Bowl. So
that's what I was wondering too. I was like, how do they discern that they have to kind of take those people can't play this week, right?
I don't know. I wonder if like Tom Brady. I mean, even if he did make it to the Pro Bowl, I hope he doesn't play.
Yeah.
Like he could risk injury and just blowing everything. But I don't know.
And that's such a key thing this year with so many injuries with different teams and people in and out. For the Eagles, especially losing Carson Wentz so early, and then
Wentz, Gronkowski got injured last game.
Yeah,
things like that.
It's gonna be a good one. We'll see. The people, our newsroom was all debating it, but like this morning they were saying, Wisdom was like, it's gonna be a blowout. Other people saying,
who does Wisdom have going?
Wisdom's the Patriots in a blowout.
Okay.
But
I like that.
I mean, all right, if you're on the stream and you have any comments or thoughts on this topic or anything else that we're showing you, please let us know. We can join in on the stream on this Thursday, January 25th. Welcome to the show, and I'm going to try to keep it kind of interesting. I'm kind of looking through what we have going on, and kind of political today. We have an update from the Pentagon, which we were just showing. Looks like that is, I think, still going on or maybe just about to end. We're also looking at the Economic Forum, the World Economic Forum in Switzerland, where Trump is. So we'll check in there. And we'll see what else we got going on today. What else is going on with you, T?
Oh, just cleaning up, upgrades, making sure we stay virus free. Yes.
I don't know if you saw, I'm going to quickly show this. This is a cool local artist. Check it out, guys. Cool local artist that chainsaws decaying trees into gorgeous art. And so we did a little package on him this morning. It was on the morning show. I believe one of the neighborhood members or neighbors that knows that had her tree carved spoke about his skill and what goes on there. So this is a local Fairfax County guy. Isn't this neat?
This is very cool.
So pretty.
Yeah. I wonder how long it takes. Like I can see it's very well detailed.
Yeah, well they interviewed him a lot and he said the hardest part is making sure the big chunks with the chainsaw are carved out well, and then the intricate stuff with the smaller chainsaw is actually easier for him as an artist. But he apparently charges $800 for a day. So if he works on a piece for say 36 hours, it's $1,200 bucks. Pretty cool, right? So he does stuff like this, these animals, the bears.
Yeah, these are like one of one too, limited edition.
I know, totally, which makes sense. But to make, hopefully, he's successful. He's making a living. To make a living doing your art, doing your craft is just phenomenal. I think it's incredibly.
That is he has some talent right there, man.
To be able to do that. Look at that bridge, the castle.
I wonder if I gave him a block of ice, would the same results come out?
Some people do ice sculpture.
Because it's a totally different art form.
Different. Yeah.
I wonder if it's kind of the same.
And then the crazy thing about ice is that it's so fleeting versus the actual wood. But anyway, that was kind of a cool picture. There's Bob standing next to it. Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
It's so good. Isn't that gorgeous?
Are these dead trees?
I love that. Yeah, exactly. So the cool part about it, that it's, instead of letting it go to waste, decaying, he transforms them into something beautiful.
They just removed the trees in my neighborhood because they had planted the wrong species.
Oh gosh.
So
that can mess up the.
That'll just that just kills the tree. Like the tree in the summertime, it doesn't grow. It actually has leaves coming at the bottom of it. So it's not the correct species for this region. So they're cutting them down. I think these are I forgot the specific genre or species of tree that this one is, but it's supposed to be like rainforest. It's supposed to be like at the bottom of the rainforest and not necessarily get too much sun.
I wonder what it is. And so because it's the wrong thing, they have to kind of get rid of them and redo them.
Yeah, so they're going to plant some maple trees.
Oh my God, maple works, right? That's the classic, on the street. It works for anything. I grew up with a lot of those. But yeah, anyway, we're hanging out on this Thursday. What are you guys up to? Let us know. Yesterday we brought you that very emotional stream of Dr. Larry Nassar's going off to prison, charged and sentenced to 40 to 175 years in prison. I know some of you guys, if you're on today, probably caught that what an emotionally charged day. And I went back and I read some of the testimonies that I didn't actually see the full, impact statements or verbiage of. And I read them in full, and they were just so powerful, so impactful, and well written. And some of these girls were exactly my age, so it really resonated. I put myself sort of in their shoes, and it's just amazing, the takedown. A lot of people commending the judge for sort of her reaction to it and how she threw away, the letter that Dr. Nasser had written in his pre-hearing sentencing that was completely, as some people are saying, narcissistic, and just saying that he thought these women were out there for media attention and money, and she didn't buy it, and rightfully so, and then she was happy to sentence him. So that was yesterday. It's a charged day. And
a lot of the testimonies were very powerful.
They were. Did you catch any of them? Or
I saw a few. I saw I don't even remember her name specifically.
Right.
The one that you showed.
Ali Raisman.
Yeah, exactly.
Some
Ali
of the
Raisman.
major U.S. gymnasts were there, and then the interesting thing, I'm looking at footage from yesterday, just kind of up on our screens. The interesting thing is that one of the most powerful ones was the closing impact statement by Rachel Den Hollander. She was the girl. She's my age exactly. She was the girl who actually put this out there in the media via the Indy Star, which is the paper in Indianapolis. So journalists essentially exposed this. She was brave and courageous to expose it, and then they took it and ran with it. And thank goodness they did. They put it out in the light for more people to see it. Administrators, people at Michigan State University who weren't doing their jobs. And now a lot of them are faulted. And the breaking news overnight is that the president is resigning. I think after a president of Michigan State, a woman. I read it last night in my breaking news in my bed, and I was like, this is not surprising. When something this affecting of your university happens, that makes sense to me. And it's a bummer because it's possible, she wasn't directly involved with not reporting this because this was when it was, but I think she did sort of have a little hand in it. I'm just seeing President Trump kind of come down the stairs now in Switzerland, so let's check in there and see if he has any words to say to the press.
United States, we are seeing tremendous investment, and today's been a very exciting day, a very great day, and great for our country. Thank you very much. Mr. President, can you say also rubbing elbows with all these bigwigs? Mr. President, how can it be American? What are you doing when you're rubbing elbows with all these bigwigs?
Mr. President!
Is America great? Great. Is everybody else great?
Yeah, no, you're welcome. Yeah, good, thank you. Whatever Fawn wants. Yeah, just give me 1 second.
I just felt bad I left the door.
You're welcome. You're open until tomorrow, so I'll keep in touch with Alicia. Okay? Yeah. No, you're welcome. It's okay. I don't ask me.
All right, guys, obviously we only got a quick second of that footage from Trump. He didn't really say much, just a couple words to the press. But I want to quickly talk about Oprah. People are talking about this. We were mentioning it after her big speech when she won the honorary award at the Golden Globes. Oprah 2020. Turns out she's saying, nope. She's saying, I've always felt very secure and confident with myself and knowing what I could do and what I could not. So it's not something that interests me. I don't have the DNA for it. What do you think, T?
Well, you know, a lot of people, when they heard Oprah for 2020,
yeah,
you know, well, me personally, when I saw it, I was thinking, yeah, I could do that. You know, I can run with Oprah being president. That would be pretty cool. That would be awesome. Like, that would be pretty sick. But I think, you know, she definitely knows her lane, and she's not trying to like step, like, I feel like that's kind of what Donald Trump did. He just wanted to, he was already rich, he already had everything. He's like, whatever, I'm gonna just try it out, and it worked out for him, I guess, in the end. But Oprah, she knows exactly what she's doing, and she's like,
I agree, and I don't think I ever questioned otherwise. When I saw this speech and then I saw everybody talk about this, I never thought she would come out and be like, yes, I want to go that political avenue and make policy and be this world leader and changer. I knew that that's the same thing. She has her lane. She knows what she's good at, what she's been so encouraging for to humanity and people and women and celebrities and just everybody. And so I'm not surprised that was her quote.
It's one thing to be famous. It's one thing to be rich. It's one thing to be a businessman or businesswoman. But politics, it's a whole different beast. Like once you enter like politics, DC, just Congress, all that, it's
we are still waiting for the president in Davos, Switzerland.
People don't do it by themselves. You know, clearly you need a team for to do anything to even become successful. But I think, I think Oprah, she's just like she's not about it. Like
I know
she definitely does not want to get into that world of twisted politics where. Things, you know, just things happen every day in politics, you know, so.
It would be interesting to see if we go down this route of having more famous names like celebrities and like people who are notable for other things start to be these leaders, right? With Trump, we know we've seen him as a president that is sort of unpredictable. His administration is quite different from the ones we've seen in the past. So it wouldn't be any surprise if we start going down that route where we see famous names sort of drop their name in the hat for this, but in the ring. But
it's kind of like the opposite. Like President Obama, I feel like he left the White House a celebrity. Donald Trump is coming into the house. He's coming into the house as a celebrity. Like those are two new things that we've never seen before. I mean, I don't know. I feel like Obama was such a influence to like the culture and just pop culture and our generation that people loved him so much. And now that he came out, you know, like as maybe one of the greats, I think it's not going to be this. I don't think we'll see that again. I don't think we'll see anything like that. Now it's more like everybody's on the hype train to become president. So like, I think you have to have some sort of celebrity status to become a president from now on. Maybe,
or we go back down the other route. It'll be really interesting to see. We're not really close for people to start campaigning and for 2020, I guess, to get underway. But I guess we are almost halfway there. I mean, things will kick up at the end of this year, obviously, and then into 19 for who's doing what, who's going to be running. But right now, we're kind of in that clear where people are just speculating.
2 years is a long time from now, too.
But I will say, in the same vein of Oprah, and her speech was phenomenal at the Golden Globes. Are you guys excited or ready for the other award shows that are coming up? This Sunday is the Grammys.
Oh, the 90th.
And then it's Super Bowl, and then another full month until the Oscars. And I'm still behind on seeing some of my Academy Award nominated films. There are 9 nominated for Best Picture, and I was sort of tracking them, and there's still a bunch on my list, and
Were you able to see any this week?
I didn't. I know. I didn't want to say that, but I didn't. I'm trying to carve out time specifically for. There's a few that I really, really want to see: Shape of Water, 3 Billboards, and I, Tanya. Really want to see that, especially before the Winter Olympics. I'm in that figure skating Winter Olympics mode, and I remember that history well from when that happened. And people are having different opinions about it, but I do want to see it. I want to carve out some time. So. Anything that on your list or?
Dunkirk. I'm still gonna watch that. Yeah, I'm gonna watch that probably either tomorrow night or Saturday. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch that.
Good.
Yeah, there's a bunch of others, but I can't really think of it at the top of my head right now.
And then did you see that in other sort of pop culture news, did you guys see Elton John announced that this will be his last tour?
The great, one of the GOATs.
You know, it's
The
cool.
legend.
I forgot. I mean, he is. He's totally legend. He'll be coming, I think, to this area this summer. Is that what people
Okay.
said as part of that last tour? And yeah, I mean, I don't know if I was surprised, but I mean, he's been doing it for so long.
Yeah, exactly. He's been in the game, like he's a veteran in the game.
Totally.
So I think he's just ready to put the towel in, throw the towel in, and just be like live his life.
He's great. Now I'm thinking like maybe I should jump on and see
Yeah,
that tour.
because
I like him.
it's the last time ever.
Especially those outdoor amphitheaters, like wherever where if he's at Nats Park or something. I don't know where he's gonna be.
Wow, that would be amazing.
I know.
Maybe because the All-Star game is in Nats Park.
But when is that again?
That's in like
I need
All-Star for baseball is like October.
Because it's after everything, right? Yeah.
It's like in the middle.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, that's something neat though. A fact.
But yeah, that he was
The All-Star game
is here.
is at home. Is for the first time.
So are those tickets already? The people who have season tickets are good.
I'm not sure.
I think or they have first dibs on the first sale of them or something.
I'm sure they have like a
Something
certain
like that.
section just reserved for people who are local. Because I'm sure like players and players' families from all over, they are gonna want to come through and also witness.
Yeah.
I think.
I do totally want to go.
Yeah, I definitely want to go.
But now I'm like, did I lose the game already by not being
Ahead of it.
ahead of it, or knowing when things are going to come out, or where to look? Yeah, I need to. I want to say season ticket holders have some dibs or something.
Probably.
I should ask people that.
I'm gonna ask around.
I'll ask
we'll
some
see.
people in the newsroom that might know.
I'm gonna ask.
Check into it.
I have a associate that gets season tickets at.
Oh, you do?
Nationals, So
Cool.
I'll talk to them.
Well, we talked about this yesterday, but LeBron hitting his 30,000 career point. That was yesterday's news, really, but we didn't really chat about it. What do you think about it? Do you think he is the greatest now? Is Michael Jordan always going to be the greatest or not? We were debating this in the newsroom.
Well, it's tough to say. There's two different eras.
Yep. LeBron came in younger.
And Jordan basically pioneered his brand and everything just throughout his career. LeBron James, he always strives for greatness, as he says. Me personally, I would say, I think LeBron has passed Jordan.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
Jordan does have more
It's
rings.
tough.
Yeah, it's really
More
hard.
rings. And that was my question too to Wisdom
He
yesterday.
has more
was like,
championships.
He'll go in younger. He'll end up with more points, career points, and obviously hit it faster than Jordan. But will he get as many championships? Maybe.
Yeah, but Jordan had Pippen and his team, and they had their squad, and LeBron is going everywhere. He got his first in Miami, came back. Kyrie's gone now. We'll see. I will say this: LeBron is probably the best player in
Right
the
now.
NBA for the last maybe 10 years. Well. See, then you
that
put Kobe
amazing?
in.
I know, he's
it's
up
hard.
there.
It's very hard, and I'm the furthest from a basketball analyst or anything. Football is my
Is your
forte.
thing?
Yeah, but I don't know. It's tough. I definitely have LeBron and Jordan shoes in my closet, so I'm a fan of both.
Because they've sponsored or they have a brand that they're part of.
Well, Jordan has his Jordan brand.
Jordan has Jordan.
LeBron has his $90 billion that he got from Nike.
Oh my goodness.
90 million. Sorry, not billion.
So he has a specific Nike shoe that you have.
I'm wearing LeBron's right now.
Oh my goodness.
These came out like 5 years ago, probably. Yeah.
It really gets people, man, especially when you have a connect to like a celebrity or an athlete and they make a product. Talking shoes, makeup.
I like
clothes.
Nike too, though. I like Nike
I
a
do
lot. Nike shoes, and so LeBron signed to Nike, and there are a few ugly ones, but the ones that I did get was the purple ones that I really liked. So.
They're nice.
Yeah, thanks.
Cool.
But yeah, to answer your question, I would say I think LeBron, just because I've witnessed LeBron more. Growing up, I loved Michael Jordan growing up, and I always wanted to be like him, you know, just like everybody else. But as an adult, I got to actually see basketball. You know, I've gotten to see LeBron. My favorite player of all time, though, personal favorite, would have to be Dwayne Wade.
Oh yeah, who's also up there for stats.
He's up there with stats, but just the way, like when I first got into basketball, just watching Dwayne Wade, it was the most incredible guy I've seen on the court. Just like the way he used to, in his prime, that is.
He is really cool. And he's married to Gabrielle Union.
Yes, and Gabrielle Union is also a wonderful soul on earth.
I wanted to
Shout
say,
out to them.
yes, and I'm looking for a picture now to set this up, but I can't find one. The Washington Auto Show is going on. Starts tomorrow. Today was a nice little media preview. We had our reporter Bob, somewhere in this newsroom, out there to check it out. And let me tell you, his live shot was really cool. He got to do sort of like a mock off-roading with what was it? Some SUV? Was it a Land Rover or was it I forget.
Range Rover, maybe?
No, he was in
Tesla?
something, and he was in the driver's seat, and he basically attempted, and he like dropped into these dips.
It could have been like a Jeep or
course.
something.
It was something like, I think last year was a Jeep, this year was something else.
Okay.
But it made me think about it. I know you and I are interested in the show, and it's at the convention center here in DC for the next couple weeks. I think it goes through Super Bowl Sunday.
Oh yeah.
So a week and a half. So we got basically, it starts tomorrow, goes through the weekend, next weekend, and through next weekend. So it'd be cool to stop by.
I definitely plan on going a few times.
Yeah. What's the hottest thing? The electric cars for sure?
Well, it's just basically you're going to see all the 2019, 2020 models that are and concept models.
Which is cool.
So it's cool to see where some of the brands are going with their designs and their products. I have a few personal favorite companies that I like.
So you can check them out there.
Yeah.
He said there were 37 or 39, I think, in that number. Manufacturers who will be putting their new stuff on display, which will be cool to see.
So I went last year 3 times, and
the DC one,
yeah, it's pretty neat. Like they section them off. Like American cars in one place, the European cars in another place, Asian cars in certain section.
Perfect.
But yeah, it's wonderful. You get to see like the latest stuff. Some of them you get to go in. You actually get to like press with the buttons. You know, just get a feel of the vehicle. I did see a few Ferraris there that were behind red ropes. You couldn't get near them.
Oh, you can't even get near them because they're the newest. I mean, they're just hot.
And each day they have like a special event going on. I think they even had like a car raffle at one point. But yeah, it's really neat. Like if you're a car enthusiast, you should definitely go check it out. They have every model, every make that you could think of.
Yeah. It's a great spot for it.
And they also have a area where I guess car owners will bring their own cars to the showroom. And just show off their cars. So like I went and I saw a couple hot rods, some old school muscle cars. Somebody had
bring
GTR.
and show. So
and they just have it. Yeah.
In a separate section for antique ones.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in going. I think it's perfect space for it, right? Because the convention center is so vast and like these huge rooms, huge stages, and sort of huge, obviously high ceilings. It's perfect for these cars.
It's crazy. It's crazy. When you leave it, you'll want to buy a Porsche or something. Like, I wish I had Porsche money, but.
Oh my God. Well, just hearing in some words, this was good. Talk about cars and sports and social stuff.
Dude.
To get back, I know we don't want. I know you just never know what's going to be happening. But I got to get back to some of the politics going on, and we have a camera on Capitol Hill. I'm just hearing it. Senator Cory Booker from New Jersey and Senator Warren from Mass speaking about healthcare is what we're hearing. So once we have that up, we'll throw that up. It's live from Capitol Hill here, but we're live too in the DC newsroom. T's working on some information technology stuff. I'm scanning through my videos and seeing what is live and breaking. It looks like they're actually at a forum. They're at a health action forum, and we'll find out some more information for you. Did not expect this one today. You just never know what's going to come up. So we'll come back into the newsroom in a little bit. We'll jump over to see Senator Elizabeth Warren, who's at the mic right now, and see what she has to say.
Thanks, Molly.
Thanks for talking. Guys, we'll see you in a second.
But the insurance companies have shown up and they have done the hard work of covering families in a responsible way. We have more than double the number of insurers participating on our exchanges compared with the average across the country. And I believe what this shows is that insurance companies will show up to serve if we put good rules in place. Now, I don't kid myself. We still have plenty of work to do in Massachusetts, particularly when it comes to bringing down healthcare spending. But we are proud of the system that we have built. And I think what it shows is that you can put good policies in place and help improve both health and financial security of the people that you serve. Now, this fight to get access to healthcare has been a long, long fight. I don't have to tell the people in this room. Franklin Roosevelt, Lyndon Johnson, Ted Kennedy, Barack Obama. And with more attacks on Obamacare and on Medicaid and on Medicare, the fights to preserve what we have are tough and they're going to get tougher. But if this past year showed us anything, it's that we're ready to take on the tough fights. We are here to fight back. When the Republicans laid out their cruel plans to repeal the Affordable Care Act, the American people fought back. In Congress, the phones rang off the hook. Moms showed up in the Capitol with little ones in tow, little babies that had to use breathing tubes, babies that were born with holes in their heart. And those moms and their kids simply refused to go away. Activists rolled their wheelchairs right into those hearing rooms and into senators' offices. They put their bodies on the line to protect health care for themselves and for millions of people across this country. The Republicans did not succeed in repealing Obamacare. Nope. Democracy showed up to fight for health care in 2017, and democracy won. Now look, I get it. We're still under attack. But let me tell you something about these fights. I remember in the middle of these fights hearing people say, everyone's just going to get tired and go home. They're going to give up. And this is how I see it. You don't get tired when you're fighting for little kids who need breathing tubes. You don't run out of steam when you're fighting for moms, your brothers, your sisters, your neighbors. You get stronger and stronger and stronger until you win the fight. That's what we do. So, I see this as the time to play defense, but also the time to play offense. This is the time to move forward. This is the time when we put the issues on the table and we argue for them. It is time to demand a healthcare system that works for all of us. I believe America is ready for this fight, and there is no one I would rather to stand shoulder to shoulder with in a fight for the healthcare of America than the people in this room. So I want to say to all of you, thank you for all you have done, but now we just got to do more. We've got to do more because the people of America are counting on us. We've got to do more because it is the right thing to do. We have got to do more until we finally have a healthcare system in America that works for all of the American people. That's our job. So thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for all you do. Thank you.
Hey guys, if you're hanging out with us on the stream, you're looking at a bump shot right now of the U.S. Conference of Mayors 86th annual winter meeting. This is a winter meeting of 250 plus mayors from all over the country, of mayors of cities that have 30,000 or more in population. They're getting together in this 86th year of it, and they're going to be joined by Senator Jeff Flake from Arizona to talk about various things. They're going to have sessions on the opioid crisis, on economic future of their cities, on preparedness and recovery for disaster, and all sorts of things. So that's what you're looking at right here. He will be speaking to those mayors of America coming up shortly at the very top of the hour here in a few minutes. So that's what we're looking at. It's sort of a luncheon conference of sorts, dealing with everything: immigration, infrastructure, recovery, disaster, and whatnot. So take a look, enjoy this, guys. This is here in DC, mayors from all over the city gathering from their cities, their respective cities, to be here for this 3-day long conference. So we'll check into that in just a moment, and we'll hopefully hear from the senator soon. That's what we have going on live on our stream. So thanks for joining us. All right, y'all, we are trying to get this to come up and start. Senator Jeff Flake speaking to the Conference of Mayors. But first, I really want to go over to the state of California, where Governor Jerry Brown is making his final State of the State address from Sacramento. He was inaugurated in 2011, and he'll make his final speech today. So we're efforting finding that video. It's coming up very soon. He may already even be speaking at the top of the hour here on Fox 5 Live. So this is a live look right here in DC at this mayor's conference, the 86th annual, and then we'll go over, hopefully if we get this up, to Sacramento, California to catch the governor and his State of the State address. So coming up shortly here on Fox 5.
The governor pro tem and I have accomplished quite a bit together over the course of the past few years, and we're gonna all miss working together. I'm also very excited to be working with our next pro tem, former Assembly colleague Tony Atkins, who's here today. But now, please welcome Pro Tem Kevin De Leon.
Thank you much, Mr. Speaker, colleagues, friends, family, as well as fellow Californians. I think that we have so much to be proud of, so much to be thankful, yet we all know collectively, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, we have still much work to do, without question. I want to offer my deepest and my sincerest appreciation to, quite frankly, who I call the greatest governor in the United States of America, Governor Jerry Brown. For his extraordinary service. Because under his leadership, and collectively with the leadership of the Speaker, as well as myself and every single member here, on both sides of the aisle, this chamber as well as the Senate, but specifically under his leadership, we overcame the worst recession since the Great Depression, since 1929. That's no easy feat in the largest state in the Union. And now we stand on firm footing, ready to confront the challenges that lie ahead of us and invest in our greatest asset, which we all know is our human asset, which are our people, the citizens of the great state of California. I can say this, I know you've heard this ad nauseum from me, that I've never been prouder to be a Californian, because today we fiercely defend our state as well as our nation's highest ideals and values. It has been my greatest honor to lead, of my life, to lead the California State Senate. To my colleagues, both Democrats as Republicans in the Senate, you are the greatest, and I want to thank you very much for the partnership that we have forged together. Speaker Rendon, working together, we have actually accomplished quite a bit. Unlike any other legislative body in the country, including Washington, what we have done together on a whole variety of issues can't be measured at all. And to the great governor of the greatest state and the greatest country in the world, again, it's been an extraordinary opportunity to work together. Us, Speaker Rendon, Speaker Tony Atkins, when she was a speaker as well, who I worked with when I was the leader, I'm the leader of the Senate, and as we work together, it's been an incredible experience. The partnership that we have forged together, quite frankly, has made history. And together, we're securing a better future for the greatest state in the Union, the Golden State, our state, the state of California. Now, it is my honor, please welcome our Lieutenant Governor, the Honorable Gavin Newsom.
So it's
taken me about 8 years to figure out you don't come to these things to listen to the lieutenant governor. So it's in the spirit of brevity, thankfully, right? In the spirit of brevity, let me quote Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead. It's only an ex-mayor of San Francisco, and possibly get away with that, who I think said something that really personifies this historic moment. He said, "You don't want to be the best of the best. You want to be the only one that does what you do." I think that's a wonderful way of describing our governor. So it's in that spirit, this historic moment in our state and in the life of this extraordinary man, that I am proud to introduce to you the one, the only, sui generis, Governor Edmund G. Brown Jr.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, as my father used to say, I accept the nomination. Who knows? Good morning. As our Constitution requires, I'm here to report on the condition of our state. Simply put, California is prospering. While it faces its share of difficulties, we should never forget the bounty and the endless opportunities bestowed on this special place, or the distance we've all traveled these last few years. It's now hard to visualize or even remember the hardships, the bankruptcies, and the home foreclosures so many experienced during the Great Recession. Unemployment was above 12%, and 1.3 million Californians lost their jobs. The deficit was $27 billion in 2011. The New York Times, they called us the coast of dystopia. The Wall Street Journal saw the great California exodus. The Economist of London pronounced us the ungovernable state. And the Business Insider simply said, California is doomed. Even today, you will find critics who claim the California dream is dead. But I'm used to that. Back in my first term, a prestigious report told us that California had the worst business climate in America. In point of fact, personal income in 1975, my first year as governor, was $154 billion. Today, it has grown to $2.4 trillion. In just the last 8 years alone, California's personal income has grown $845 billion, and 2.8 million new jobs have been created. Very few places in the world can match that record. That's one of the reasons why confidence in the work that you're doing has risen so high. That contrasts sharply with the abysmal approval ratings given to the U.S. Congress. Certainly our on-time budgets are well received, thanks in large part to the lowering of the two-thirds vote to a simple majority to pass the budget. But public confidence has also been inspired by your passing, with both Republicans and Democratic votes, pension reform, and don't minimize that. That was a big pension reform. May not be the final one, but it was there, and you did it, Republicans and Democrats. Workers' compensation reform, another vote with Republicans and Democrats there. The water bond, the rainy day fund, and the cap and trade program. And by the way, you Republicans, as I look over here and look over there, don't worry. I got your back. All these programs are big and very important to our future. And their passage demonstrates that some American governments actually can get stuff done, even in the face of deepening partisan division. The recent fires and mudslides show us how much we're all affected by natural disasters and how we can rise to the occasion, the local level, the state level, and with major help from the federal government. I want to especially thank all the firefighters, the first responders, and the volunteers. These brave men and women answered the call to help their fellow neighbors, in some cases, even when their own homes were burning. Here we see an example of people working together, irrespective of party. The president himself has given California substantial assistance, and the congressional leadership is now sponsoring legislation to help California, as well as the other states that have suffered major disasters, Texas, Florida, and the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico. In this regard, we should never forget our dependence on the natural environment and the fundamental challenges it presents to the way we live. We can't fight nature. We have to learn how to get along with her. I want to say that again. We can't fight nature. We have to learn how to get along with her. And that's not so easy. For thousands of years, this land, now called California, supported no more than 300,000 people. That's 300,000 people. And they did that for thousands and thousands, some people say as long as 20,000 years. Today, 40 million people live in the same place, and their sheer impact on the soils, the forests, and the entire ecosystem has no long-term precedent. That's why we have to innovate constantly and create all manner of shelter, machines, and creative technologies. That'll continue, but only with ever greater public and private investment. The devastating forest fires and the mudslides are a profound and growing challenge. 8 of the state's most destructive fires have occurred in the last 5 years. Last year's Thomas Fire in Ventura and Santa Barbara counties was the largest in recorded history. The mudslides that followed were among the most lethal the state has ever encountered. In 2017, we had the highest average summer temperatures in recorded history. Over the last 40 years, California's fire season has increased 78 days. In some places, it's nearly year-round. So we have to be ready with the necessary firefighting capability and the communication systems to warn residents of impending danger. We also have to manage our forests and our soils much more intelligently. Toward that end, I'll convene a task force composed of scientists and knowledgeable forest practitioners to review thoroughly the way our forests are managed and suggest ways to reduce the threat of devastating fires. They'll also consider how California can increase resiliency and carbon storage capacity. Trees in California should absorb CO2, not generate huge amounts of black carbon and greenhouse gas as they do today when forest fire rages across the land. Despite what is widely believed by some of the most powerful people in Washington, the science of climate change is not in doubt. The National Academies of Science of every major country in the world, including Russia and China, have all endorsed the mainstream view that human-caused greenhouse gases are trapping heat in the oceans and in the atmosphere, and that action must be taken to avert catastrophic changes in our weather systems. All nations agree except one, and that is solely because of one man, our current president. Here in California, we follow a different path. Enlightened by top scientists at the University of California, Stanford, and Caltech, among others, our state has led the way. I'll enumerate just how. Building and appliance efficiency standards, renewable electricity reaching 50% in just a few years, a powerful low-carbon fuel standard, incentives for zero-emission vehicles, ambitious policies to reduce short-lived climate pollutants like methane and black carbon, a UN-sponsored climate summit this September in San Francisco, and the nation's only functioning and comprehensive cap-and-trade system. I'll shortly provide an expenditure plan for the revenues that the cap-and-trade auctions have generated. Your renewing this program on a bipartisan basis was a major achievement and will ensure that we will have substantial sums to invest in communities all across the state, both urban and agricultural. The goal is to make our neighborhoods and farms healthier, our vehicles cleaner, zero emission, the sooner the better, and all our technologies increasingly lowering their carbon output. To meet these ambitious goals, we'll need 5 million zero-emission vehicles on the road by 2030. And we're going to get there. Believe me, we only have 350,000 today, so we all got a lot of work. And think of all the jobs and how much cleaner our air will be then. When you passed the cap-and-trade legislation, you also passed a far-reaching air pollution measure that for the first time focuses on pollutants that disproportionately affect specific neighborhoods. Instead of just measuring pollutants over vast swaths of land, regulators will zero in on those communities which are particularly disadvantaged by trains, trucks, or factories. Along with clean air, clean water is a fundamental good that must be protected and made available on a sustainable basis. When droughts occur, conservation measures become imperative. In recent years, you've passed historic legislation to manage California's groundwater, which local governments are now implementing. In addition, you passed, and more than 2/3 of the voters approved, a water bond that invests in safe drinking water, conservation, and storage. As a result, we'll soon begin expending funds on some of the storage we've needed for decades. As the climate changes and more water arrives as rain instead of snow, it's crucial that we're able to capture the overflow in a timely and responsible way. That, together with recycling and rainwater recapture, will put us in the best position to use water wisely and the most efficient way possible. We're also restoring the Sacramento and San Joaquin watersheds, protect water supplies, and improves California's iconic salmon runs. Finally, we have the California Water Fix, a long-studied and carefully designed project to modernize our broken water system. I'm convinced that it will conserve water, protect the fish and the habitat in the Delta, and ensure the delivery of badly needed water to the millions of people who depend on California's aqueducts. Local water districts in both the North and the South are providing the leadership and the financing because they know it's vital for their communities and for the whole state. That's true, and that's the reason why I've persisted. Our economy, the 6th largest in the world, depends on mobility, which only a modern and efficient transportation system provides. The vote on the gas tax was not easy, but it was essential, given the vast network of roads and bridges on which California depends and the estimated $67 billion in deferred maintenance on our infrastructure. Tens of millions of cars and trucks travel over 330 billion miles a year. The sun's only 93 million miles away. The funds that SB 1 makes available are absolutely necessary if we're going to maintain our roads and transit systems in good repair. 25 other states have raised gas taxes. Even the U.S. Chamber of Commerce has called for a federal gas tax because the Highway Trust Fund is nearly broke. Government does what individuals can't do, like build roads and bridges and support local bus and light rail systems. This is our common endeavor by which we pool our resources through the public sector and improve all of our lives. Fighting a gas tax may appear to be good politics, but it isn't. I will do everything in my power to defeat any repeal effort that gets on the ballot. You can count on that.
Josh Newman is the first one to stand up.
I'm looking for that one Republican. A brave man. All right, since I've talked about tunnels and transportation, I'll bring up one more item of infrastructure, high-speed rail. All right, I make no bones about it. I like trains, and I like high-speed trains even better. So did the voters in 2008 approve the bond. Look, 11 other countries have high-speed trains. They're now taken for granted all over Europe, in Japan, and in China. President Reagan himself said in Japan on November 11th, 1983, the following, and I quote, "The state of California is planning to build a rapid-speed train that is adapted from your highly successful bullet train." Yes, we were, and now we are actually building it. Takes a long time. Like any big project, there are obstacles. There were for the Bay Area Rapid Transit System, for the Golden Gate Bridge, and the Panama Canal. I'll pass over in silence the time it took to build the Bay Area Bridge. That was almost 20 years. And by the way, it was over budget by $6 billion on a $1 billion project. So that happens. But not with the high-speed rail. We got that one covered. But build it they did, all those projects, and build it we will. America's first high-speed rail system. One link between San Jose and San Francisco, an electrified Caltrain, is financed and ready to go. Another $1 billion with matching funds will be invested in Los Angeles to improve Union Station as a major transportation hub and fix the Anaheim corridor. The next step is completing the Valley segment and getting an operating system connected to San Jose. Yes, it costs a lot of money, but it's still cheaper and more convenient than expanding airports, which nobody wants to do, and building new freeways, which landowners often object to. All that is to meet the growing demand. It'll be fast. That high-speed rail will be fast. It'll be quiet. It'll be powered by renewable electricity. And best of all, it'll last for 100 years. After all, you guys are gone. Already, more than 1,500 construction workers are on the job at 17 sites, and hundreds of California businesses are providing services, generating thousands of job years of employment. As the global economy puts more Americans out of work and lowers wages, infrastructure projects like this will be a key source of well-paid California jobs. Difficulties challenge us, but they can't discourage or stop us. Whether it's roads, or trains, or dams, or renewable energy installations, or zero-emission cars, California is setting the pace for the entire nation. Yes, there are critics, there are lawsuits, lots of them, and there are countless obstacles. But California was built on dreams and perseverance, and the Boulder Path is still our way forward. In addition to infrastructure and physical investments, California spends huge sums for services which affect people directly, such as education, healthcare, and our criminal justice system. In education, after seeing 30,000 teachers laid off, spending has dramatically recovered, increasing by $4,600 per student, $31 billion overall. We'll also be able to completely fund the local control funding formula, which directs money to those schools with the greatest challenges. For decades, school districts had widely disparate funding until the Serrano against Priest decision mandated equal funding for all children. Now, with our current formula, the most disadvantaged districts will get substantially more, not just equal funding. Importantly, this year's budget proposes to link spending with the local accountability plans so that parents can see how the additional spending supports English learners and students from low-income families. Look, it's no secret that kids from more privileged backgrounds generally do better on standardized tests. But the answer is not more micromanagement with intrusive state laws. Learning takes place in the classroom, and that's why our first job is to support teachers and give them the training and the freedom to teach as they know best. With respect to higher education, it's clear how much of our prosperity depends on the intellectual contributions of our institutions of higher learning. National leaders come from all over the world to visit California's most innovative companies, companies that are filled with highly educated and creative men and women, many of whom graduated from our public colleges and universities. Although there's always a struggle for funds, I want to point out that since 2011, the state has increased its annual support of higher education by $5.8 billion. And that's on an annual basis from now on. That is $1.2 billion for UC, $1.6 billion for CSU, $2.4 billion for the community colleges, and $623 million in additional financial aid. And that's not chump change, $5.8 billion. Even with so many of our students attending college, there's still 2.5 million Californians between 25 and 34 who are in the workforce but lack a post-secondary degree or certificate. These men and women often go out of state and pay high tuition at for-profit institutions to improve their skills and employability. For this group, I want to create the California Online College, so these overlooked Californians can get the training they need conveniently and at very low cost. You can applaud that, I know you. And this won't compete with bricks and mortar schools or the existing community colleges or UC or USC. This is for people out of the workforce who have no other way. And we want to bring it right to their homes so they can get ahead like everybody else. When it comes to health care, California has boldly embraced the Affordable Care Act by enrolling 5 million more people into our Medi-Cal program and 1.3 million into the California Health Exchange, Covered California. These are far-reaching These are really far-reaching moves, but are largely dependent on tens of billions of federal dollars that would have been taken away by the Congress had the effort to repeal and replace succeeded. Thank God for John McCain, Lisa Murkowski, and Susan Collins. Along with the Democrats, they prevailed and protected the health care for tens of millions of Americans. Finally, I want to say something about public safety. Nothing is more fundamental than an abiding sense on the part of people that they can enjoy their lives safe and secure, free from crime. Good neighborhoods, good schools, and good jobs all contribute to healthy and safe communities. But there still is crime, lots of it, in many cases, quite serious. To combat crime, among other things, California has created an extensive prison system that has changed quite substantially and grown over the decades. In fact, it grew so fast, it became so crowded that the United States Supreme Court issued an unprecedented order requiring drastic changes. To give you a sense of the magnitude of the problem, here are some of the facts. In 1970, California imprisoned 125 persons per 100,000. That number now stands at 331. Their corrections budget then was about 3% of the general fund. Now it's 8.9%, about $12 billion. Yet last year, the number of reported felonies was actually lower than it was in 1970. In 1965, the California Penal Code had about 234,000 words. I actually got some people to count them. Today, that number has grown to 1.2 million. By comparison, the 10 Commandments run just under 300 words. And the 10 Commandments, there's still 10. In California, there are more than 5,000 separate criminal provisions specifying what is criminal, what the penalty should be, what enhancements should be added, and what credits might be earned. Much of this has changed, I'd say changed over and over again, and churned over the decades as the legislature has enacted endless new crime laws and the voters have approved one ballot measure after another, usually, but not always, adding more time in prison. My plea is relatively straightforward. Take time to understand how our system of crime and punishment has evolved, how other states and countries have devised their prison systems, and what changes might we now make. I urge that instead of enacting new laws because of horrible crimes and lurid headlines, you consider the overall system and what it might need and what truly protects public safety. Certainly, we need more mental health and drug treatment programs, and better training and education. Those we're getting, but more is needed, particularly hope. Hope, as you know, is one of the theological virtues, along with faith and charity. When a human being gets a 20 or 40-year sentence, as tens of thousands do, incentives to reform weaken and hopelessness and violence take over, making prison gang influence all the more powerful. That's why recent measures are so vital, which allow the possibility, and only the possibility, of earlier parole and milestone credits for those who turn their lives around. Equally important are the correctional officers who walk the halls and put their lives on the line in direct contact with all manner of inmate. Their job is to keep the place safe, never an easy task, and to create an atmosphere of respect and order and foster a spirit of rehabilitation whenever possible. There are thousands of others who work in the prisons who also deserve our support. It's all out of sight, but profoundly important because inmates will be returning to their communities. Most of them will, and we want them to be as reformed and rehabilitated as possible. For the rest, there's much we can do together before this year ends. And these are truly exciting times, full of possibilities, but also full of danger. Just this morning, the preeminent Science and Security Board of the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists moved the minute hand of the doomsday clock 30 seconds closer to catastrophe. It is now 2 minutes to midnight, as close as it was at the height of the Cold War in 1953. Our world, our way of life, our system of governance, all are at immediate and genuine risk. Endless new weapon systems, growing antagonism among nations, the poison in our politics, climate change. All of this calls out for courage, for imagination, and for generous dialogue. In recent days, hundreds of thousands took to the streets in cities across America to participate in the Women's March. At the same time, activists championed the cause in our nation's capital of those young people we call the Dreamers. In all this, California was in the forefront, showing the way. But there's much more to do, much more to do. All of us, whatever our party or philosophy, have a role to play in defending and advancing our democracy. Our forebears set the example. As you may know, my own great-grandfather, August Shuckman, in 1849, sailed to America on a ship named Perseverance. He persisted against all the odds and made it to Sacramento 3 years later. And yes, we too will persist against storms and turmoil, obstacles great and small. The spirit of democracy never dies. It's alive in this chamber, in the hearts of Californians, and in people throughout the world. Let this be a great year for California, for our nation, and for our future. Thank you.
All right, guys, if you're joining us on the stream, welcome to our newsroom here in D.C. You're watching the live coverage here of California Governor Jerry Brown. Looks like he has a few final statements here. We'll jump back in.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you for everything. Without objection, the Governor's State of the State address shall be printed in the Journal as a separate appendix. We will adjourn.
All right, so back to the newsroom. That was Jerry Brown making his last State of the State address there in Sacramento, California. Brown was inaugurated in 2011, so this will be coming up on the end of his fourth term in California, and he was expected to keep it relatively short and sweet, discuss some various topics such as unfinished business, like the bullet train. You heard him mention transportation towards the beginning of that, as well as some other things facing Congress in Washington, and among just other topics. So relatively short and sweet, I would say. Let me know what you thought about in the comments. If any of you are over there on the West Coast or possibly California residents, maybe this is resonant to you, some of his words. 79-year-old, there he is, Governor of California. We'll see what happens next, but we wanted to make sure we caught that live because it is his last State of the State address. I want to jump over now to some more playback tape right now of President Trump. He's in Davos, Switzerland for the World Economic Forum there with various world leaders, and we didn't catch him on camera. We caught him briefly earlier this morning, but we didn't get too much from him. So I do want to go back because they're playing back a little segment of his luncheon with some of those leaders. So let's listen in to see what he had to say just a few moments ago.
Difference in price between a Mack and a Volvo comparable truck, and you said?
I said, since they're very strong on the vocational side and now also coming and that balance is at 10 to 50%.
You said they're both great, but a Mack is about 15% more. That's right. That was very good. Thank you very much for that investment in the U.S. $2 billion is great. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, thank you for the invitation. I represent the Adidas team. America is our single biggest country. We're growing 30% in the U.S. And some of the most famous creators of our products are coming out of the U.S., starting with Stan Smith from the 70s, Kanye West, that are building one of the most thought-after shoes in the world. And we just opened a fully automated shoe manufacturing plant in the state of Georgia and Atlanta.
That's fantastic. Great job.
So my name is Werner Baumann. I'm the CEO of Bayer. That's a company that in the future will be known as the company that was formerly the Aspirin company.
Yeah.
So we are working heavily on acquiring Monsanto, a national icon in the US, making good progress, and hope to close this transaction early 2018, so should be imminent.
So what percentage of your company is the aspirin?
Aspirin is a just about 1.1 billion euro, so 1.4 billion.
So that's a pretty small percentage.
It's relatively small, but it's one of the few brands that has been growing for 120 years. It's very profitable, and I think you take it as well.
I do. I take one a day. I generally, I should say, I only take Bayer. Take one aspirin a day. So far, it's been working.
It was a once of a lifetime.
No, it's a great company. So, are you going to be investing in the U.S.?
Yes, we are. We will actually consolidate most of our activities also into the Monsanto headquarters, the former Monsanto headquarters in St. Louis. We're going to invest about 16 billion. If you look at our R&D investment in crop alone, and 60% out of that is going to be in the U.S. over the next 6 years.
Thank you very much. That's really great. Thank you.
My name is Mark Tucker from HSBC. I think HSBC you know well.
I do.
Our business in the US began in 1865, and we're the largest foreign bank in the US. We have a business. We have a balance sheet of $2.6 trillion.
Right.
We work in 70 countries, and we have a market cap of around $250 billion. The commitment to the US. We have a very strong business here, and a business that will continue to grow.
And you founded one of the most successful businesses in China. That is a big statement. You did a great job. So it's a great honor to have you. Thank you very much. It's a fantastic job you've done. I know all about you. I know everything about you.
It's dangerous, Mr. President.
I know. Few people have done what you've done. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm Patrick Pouyanné, Chairman and CEO of Total, which is an oil and gas company, the fourth largest in the world, 130 countries. We are in the US, 7,000 people. We do almost everything in your country. We produce oil, we explore. We are just making a big discovery in the Gulf of Mexico, oil discovery. Produce gas in Texas. We are investing in an LNG plant in Louisiana to export gas from the US. What else? We are just deciding to invest $3 billion in petrochemicals in Texas, big new cracker, big plant, creating 1,500 jobs. We have 7,000 people in your country, and in 23 states.
So you're fourth in the world.
Yeah, we are fourth largest in the world and third by results, more than $10 billion results per year, despite the oil price. We invest around $15 billion each year, and at least $1 billion as an average in the US. And of course, for us, in the US, with the gas revolution, shale revolution is a land. It's an obvious business case because low cost energy, low cost feedstock. So we come and even we will do more with your tax reform.
It's a great company.
And we are also invested in renewables. I know maybe you disagree, but in solar business, in a U.S. company, we are the majority shareholder of SunPower, California company, a high-tech company, and so we are heavily invested in. We have invested more than $2 billion in that company to develop solar in the U.S.
And we'll rebuild that business. That whole thing is going to get rebuilt now. The solar panels, you'll see a difference, but that's very good. So from the U.S. standpoint, you're very happy about it.
Yes, I'm happy. To be honest, for SunPower, there is competition with, with others.
You have competition?
Yeah, we have strong competition.
That's what we wanted. No, but you've done a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr. President.
Appreciate it.
Mr. President, thank you for the invitation. Heinrich Hiesinger, CEO of ThyssenKrupp. We are, let's say, strongly localized in US in elevator engineering, automotive. 80% is already localized. Very proud that we have all the elevators in Freedom.
Again, stations coming up on Ridge
guys,
Live
just a
Channel
reminder,
3
you're watching
and
this
G16
video. A little inside look at this luncheon at the World
Daily
Economic
State
Forum
Department
in
briefing with
Davos,
Heather Nauert,
Switzerland. It's
source,
President
it is
Trump
streamable.
with many of the leaders that he's chatting with there. Just kind of a little inside look at what they're talking about. This was rolled on just previously. We're playing it out here for you to kind of listen in. And I'm watching along with you guys here in the DC newsroom at the digital desk. So I hope you're enjoying the stream and gathering whatever you want from it. Please feel free to leave your comments and questions in the live chat. I'll be checking them out as we go along with this. So let's jump back right into this luncheon and hear what they have to say.
Oil in the names that accounts for oil and gas coming from Norway, the region Norway.
the president in the U.S. for 30 years now, substantial investments over the years. So we're engaged both in the onshore, the offshore, trading, extensive trading business, and also renewables, not solar, but offshore wind actually. So quite sizable business, not as big as Total yet, but we're working on it. So we're growing, increasing our production. We are into three areas onshore, 6 increasing to 8 fields offshore, 300,000 plus barrels a day, currently growing to around 400,000. So it's our second biggest location outside of the Norwegian part, the Norwegian continental shelf. So we are growing in terms of production and obviously also in terms of investment. So I would like to congratulate you, like many others here, on the tax reform. I think that is really good news, I guess, for all of us here, but also for the oil and gas and our industry. So that's what we're going to serve as well. I just mentioned oil and gas is also a typically heavily regulated business. So your thinking and your reflections on what you're doing on the regulations is good news.
And we're becoming energy self-sufficient very rapidly. We really just about are hitting that mark. And as you know, we're opening up a lot of different places in the U.S., including the plants that you're building. A lot of places are opening that would never even they wouldn't have even conceived of them. So a lot of things are happening. Thank you. Great job you've done. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, thank you very much for the honor of being here. I'm CEO of Novartis. We're one of the largest healthcare companies in the world. We focus on innovative medicines, generics, as well as eye care. Today, we have about 22,000 employees in the U.S. across 21 sites. We invest about $14 billion every year into the United States, including $3.5 billion in research. It's one of our key, obviously, markets, but also key places where we drive innovation. Right. And we're really pleased with the tax reform, but also very pleased with the great progress being made at FDA. We believe you have a great leadership team there, and they're doing all the right things to accelerate innovation and access.
Scott is great, and Alex is great. Alex is just starting, and he's highly respected, so that's fantastic. Scott Gottlieb, as you know, is a star.
He is a star, and I think his vision for tobacco and trying to improve and reduce the use of tobacco around the world is also very inspiring.
That's very good. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, thank you very much for having me tonight. I serve the people of ABB. We have business in more than 100 countries of the world, but we have made the last 8 years the U.S. an investment focus. We have deployed $13 billion of capital and bought some iconic brands in the U.S. like Baldor and Fort Smith, Arkansas, a motor company. And we are just now in the process of closing the transaction to acquire GE Industrial Solutions, a fantastic business in terms of installed base. It needs a little bit of investment in terms of technology, and we have the right technology.
I got a good price. Yeah. I know you got it. You always get a good price. I know who I deal with. He always gets a good price. That's good.
All together, so we have today now, including the GE transaction, we'll have 26,000 people in the U.S. in more than 60 sites, nicely spread all over all the U.S. We have the classic copper and iron activities, the motors, and just last week we spent with the entire executive committee team time in the Silicon Valley because there we have an AI and robotics center that we firmly intend to go further and invest significantly to support the U.S. in the next level of industrialization.
1 year write-off. Yeah. Big difference, right?
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest sleeper in the whole tax bill.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Great job. Good luck with the GE purchase.
Thank you.
Read about it.
We need that.
Sounds good. You'll be just fine. Go ahead.
Mr. President, and thank you very much for the invitation. I'm the CEO of Anheuser-Busch InBev, beer company.
Anheuser-Busch.
We have business in more than 50 countries around the world. We sell beer in more than 100 countries. Our number one global beer brand is Budweiser, out of St. Louis.
We know it well.
We started there in 1852, and we've been in the beer business for more than 600 years. Our Belgian business dates back to 1366, a Belgian company. And our biggest market is the U.S., where we employ 18,000 people in more than 50 sites.
Great.
And we just announced last year a program through 2020, $2 billion investment in our facilities in the U.S.
That's fantastic. That's good.
So
Thank you very much.
Great market for us.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, Mr. President, I'd like to thank you, first of all, for having me, but also for spurring on all this growth, because these are all my customers.
I know.
And it's kind of amazing to have all your customers talking about adding jobs and growing their business, and it's just a real tribute to the momentum that you've created in the global economy. So I thank you very much. SAP is the leading enterprise software company. We have 90,000 people around the world. In the United States, we're quickly approaching 25,000. It's the fastest growing region of the world, especially in jobs. I'm very proud to share with you that when you think about the Army and the Navy and the missions they run to protect the world, they run on SAP.
That's right.
And when you think about the Vice President in the state of Indiana, for example, solving infant mortality issues and things like that, we were working hand in glove with him there as well. So it's a real honor. And thank you for having me, and we look forward to helping in any way we can.
Well, you have done a really spectacular job. I guess pretty much everybody at this table is your customer, so that's not so bad.
Exactly.
So I want to congratulate
Thank you,
you,
Mr. President. Thank you. Thank you.
So I want to thank everybody. Really, you have done incredible work, incredible jobs. These are some of the great companies of the world, many of the great companies of the world, and congratulations. And now we'll talk, and thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you all very much.
All right, so a little roundup there of the luncheon. President Trump just attended there with the world leaders at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. He's there promoting, of course, business in America and the agenda of that he has set forth for business here in the States. So we'll kind of roll out of that as our camera leaves, and we'll bring it back into the newsroom. Guys, if you're on the stream with us today, please pipe up. Let me know that you're here. We're going to roll it out in a couple minutes, but I do want to tell you, we, in total different news and entertainment and social, guess who was here in the morning show this morning? Chris Barron, the lead singer of the Spin Doctors. It was so fun to meet him and take pictures with him and talk to him. He was such an amazing person. He's doing his own solo show here in the Vienna, Virginia area, so right outside of DC. And I'm thinking about going tonight, actually. We befriended each other, and he talked to all of us in the studio, took pictures. So if you're interested, check out my Instagram for more. I'm gonna post some more from this morning's morning show, which was just so packed with awesome stuff. So check it out. Also check our Fox 5 DC Instagram account if you want more snippets of our morning show and kind of what goes on here in the morning while we prepare for this live stream and then go into the afternoon. And don't forget to follow us on all our platforms, Twitter, Fox 5 DC, and our website and Facebook, all fox5dc.com and Facebook, Fox 5 DC. So check it out. I'm Molly here in the newsroom. We're going to come back tomorrow at 11 with some weather. We're going to roll into live news. Today was sort of a mishmash of stuff, mostly politics. If you missed the governor of California, when this stream stops, you can go back and check that out. Otherwise, if you were on with us, thanks for joining us and thanks for commenting on that. I know a lot of you possibly are jumping in from the West Coast, so it's relevant to you guys. And let me know what you think. I want to hear your comments and maybe talk about them a little more tomorrow. So we'll be back with all new content, guys. We'll see what happens tomorrow on our breaking news show here, Fox 5 Live inside the DC newsroom. We'll see you tomorrow, guys.